Good morning, everyone, and really welcome from my side to this meeting, this research seminar. Today we have a presentation by Sally Kasyoki. She's a doctoral student at Jomo Kenyatta University in Nairobi, Kenya. She is researching female entrepreneurship in the context of mini grids. And we have a great discussion. I'm so happy to have you with us, Dr. Esther Nkata. She's a professor at the School of Business and Economics of the Catholic University of East Africa. We have been knowing each other for a long time and also trying to do some research together on female entrepreneurship. And she is going to discuss Sally work today. Yeah, I also maybe leave you 1 minute each to introduce each other, and then we can jump into the actual presentation. Esther, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, that's okay. Good morning, everyone. As already Alessia has introduced, my name is Dr. Esther. I am a lecturer in the School of Business and Economics at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. My area of specialization is finance, but I'm now having also a little bit of interest in social entrepreneurship, but still within the aspects of finance. I am glad to be part of this discussion, and I really hope it's going to have very good feedback, positive feedback for Sally to improve her work, and looking forward to more of these engagements. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally, I think you can go on and introduce briefly yourself, and I think we can then straight on open your presentation, and you have 15 to 20 minutes to talk about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hi.
My name is Sally Kasyoki. I'm a PhD entrepreneurship student in JKUAT here in Nairobi, Kenya. And in partnership with TUM and under the supervision of Dr. Alessia, today I'm happy to present to you what we've been working on so far. And also for Dr. Esther, it's finally good to see you face to face. We've communicated through email. So I'm also looking forward to hear your feedback. So I think I can proceed on to share the PPT. Okay. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? Okay.
So maybe if you put it in a presentation mode, yeah, perfect.
That's better?
Great, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So this research has gone through a variation of, of topics and titles. The current title is Powering Empowerment, Exploring the Nexus of Energy Access, Necessity Entrepreneurship and Women Empowerment in Kenya. We're trying to look at how entrepreneurship is enabling women to be empowered, enable them to break through gender barriers, and also how electricity access plays a role in this. So the motivation for us is driven through SDG 5 and 7, where 5 talks about gender equality and 7 talks about access to clean, reliable, and sustainable energy. So the research question, just a minute. Okay, for the research question, we're trying to look at how the role of energy access is a catalyst for women entrepreneurship. And we're trying to understand how the availability of electricity influence this women's empowerment journey and what entrepreneurial opportunities they look at and why. So we looked at multiple case studies. So far, we've interviewed 15 women from 3 community mini grids, and also we looked at the TUM Seed Center Living Lab. Data was collected through by a team from TUM and JKUAT, and we collected this data through interviews, observation, and we have a lot of visual data. So these are some of the photos from the members from both TUM and JKUAT. So the community mini grids, I can start with Oloike and Shompole. All of the community mini grids are based in Kajiado County, which is south of Kenya. For Oloika, it's about 132 kilometers from Nairobi, which is the capital city of Kenya. and Shompole is about 149 kilometers from Nairobi. It's actually closer to the border of Tanzania. And Olkramatian, the other community mini grid you looked at, is about 128 kilometers from Nairobi. And this is the Tumseed Center Living Lab, which is located in Oldakesi. It's about 160 kilometers from Nairobi and about 50 kilometers to the Masai Mara. So why did we decide to go with these mini grids? First, all of them are off-grid. They're located in remote areas in Kenya where they're not yet connected to the main electricity main electricity grid. They're all community-based. They have similar social-cultural values where they come from the Maasai community, and they practice similar economic practices. For example, they are all traditionally pastoralist, and the inception and funding of them are all linked to universities. So the initial findings, because we've collected data in March and September of this year, so what we found so far is the motivation for starting a business for all these women are different. Some of them do it as a hobby, others as a passion, others they want a better family life, for example, to educate their children, others want to meet their needs, and others is because of family influence. For example, one girl we interviewed, she's 16 years old, and she also wants to start a business because her mother has a shop and her sister has a shop. And we also found this business growth where they've started other business ventures from the initial business. For example, one of the ladies we interviewed in Shompole, her initial business is a salon, but from that, she also got a motorbike, which she's able to do transport within the community. Another lady we interviewed in Oldakesi, the Living Lab, she started, her first business was a bar, but now she was able to start an agrovet and a barber shop. There's also community growth. Actually, the one thing we noticed in all these communities, there was an outsider from the community who is not a Maasai. And all of them, they came to those communities because of electricity, because of the mini grid access, and because there's a business opportunity gap. And we also noticed there's future business opportunities. All of them have visions for their businesses. And because these areas, for example, some of them wanted to have fridges. All these areas are located in quite hot areas in Kenya. So some of them wanted to start having fridges. Others are thinking of having blenders, those with hotels, for example. Others were thinking of having a printing business. One of the ladies also said she wants to have a car. She wants to buy a car so that she can do a transport business. We also noticed there's access to information and technology. They now have access to smartphones where some of the women we interviewed are teachers, where they teach their children through smartphones. And one of the girls we interviewed, she sells clothes and she does her marketing through social media, through WhatsApp. And an interesting thing we noticed with these women, they are highly entrepreneurial. They are breaking the gender narrative, especially due to the Maasai culture. The Maasai culture does not specifically favor women. They get married off young when they are 12 years of age, and they have a lot of family responsibilities on them. So not a lot of them have goals or have passions in life. So for these women we interviewed, we find that they are really proactive and aggressive in trying to give themselves a better life and also for their children. And we realize that also the women are proactive. Some of these community-based mini grids, they are not being run well. So in cases where the mini grids failed and they didn't have electricity, these women looked for batteries or different solar home systems. So the challenges, we did find that the community mini grids, there's a lot of mismanagement, which leads to unreliability in electricity access, which now for the women, it means like that some of them, because most of them rely on electricity, on days where there's no electricity, that means their businesses cannot run well. They have a lot of financial limitation. Not all of them have access to money, one, because access to money is majorly managed by the men. And if at all they have access to money, all of them are channeled to family responsibilities. And we noticed there's a lot of lack of proper business skills. They don't know, maybe, for example, how much money they make monthly. They're not trained specifically on how to run businesses. Maybe if you ask them why they chose the business they did, they can't tell you, like maybe they're meeting a gap. Most of them do not have the proper business management skills, I'd say. And there's community awareness. There's lack of information on what the mini grids are, and we found this especially with the women. They actually don't know how the mini grids came to the area. Most of the information we found that were being held by men. So in as much as they know there's electricity in the community, most of these women did not know what mini grids are. These are some of the businesses, as you can see, like the salons. Okay, the first two women, they have salons. On the top right, that's our focus group we had with the women. On the bottom, there's a kid who's watching TV. And actually, they liked this kind of opportunities where the communities can come and watch TV together, maybe watch sports. Children can watch cartoons together. This is in all Kramatian. As you can see, there's also a washing machine, which was quite interesting for us. And these are some of the businesses that have been open because now there's access to electricity. So yes, I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you so much, Sally. Very nice presentation. Yeah, and now leave the word to Esther. I just want to maybe do a very quick comment. I think we are in a very intermediate stage where we start to see in the data that there are some interesting and maybe contradictory elements or initial findings. And we need now to take one direction and decide among all these interesting findings that we have, or insights, let's say, where do we want to focus our attention on? And this is what we also hope to hear from you, Esther, who have also been reading the first draft of the manuscript. Thank you. And Sally, do you have other specific question for Esther maybe, or do you want to leave it open?
No, it's exactly what you've said, like more of a direction, because we found quite a bit of information. So we are trying to find maybe one direction we can follow as of now. Yeah.
Thanks. And then also from the audience, like Rosalie, Fernanda, Harold, if you have any comments or question after Esther comment, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for your presentation. And it's a very interesting area that you're looking at, and especially given the location of where this study is based, which is basically a very marginalized area of Kajiado. Kajiado is generally marginalized, but that particular area is even much more marginalized. So it's a very interesting study that you're doing, and hopefully then it can contribute positively to better life for the people in that area. Also, in terms of today, it's a very contemporary area of study because it touches on issues around clean energy, since we know issues of climate change and are very important today. So again, from that point of view, it's very, very pertinent. Of course, access to electricity is very critical. Just before I joined, I was chatting with Alessia because power went off and therefore I could not use our internet connection and to resort to a personal connection gadget. So it's very critical today, especially in Kenya, the issues around electricity. And obviously that you're touching on the SDGs 5 and 7, very important for empowerment of women and girls, and specifically again in that community, the Ma community, where we know that women and girls face a lot of challenges, both, especially because of the cultural and social upbringing. So it's again very, very important. And of course, affordability and reliable energy, as again, I've just mentioned, it's very critical. You're looking at I would say a forgotten section of the population. So it's very interesting to hear this particular study from that point of view. And I must really also applaud the kind of methodology that you have used, which is qualitative. You're trying to get more insights from these women entrepreneurs. So that's going to be very useful for anyone who's going to read your paper. So it's the right way to go. Very interesting and very, very useful at this particular point in time. However, for any work that is being done, there's always room for improvement, and I hope that whatever I am going to say, it's for purposes of improving your work. It's not necessarily to pin down or to dilute what you have done so far. It's for improving your work. And my comments are based more on the paper that I read. I can see a little bit more input and more improvement on your presentation. So I may make some comments that maybe have already been captured from your presentation. When I read this brief paper, first of all, I was a little bit lost in terms of, are you focusing on female entrepreneurship? I mean, women entrepreneurship? Are you focusing on economic empowerment? Or are you focusing on gender equality? It seems to be having everything. So it's not really very clear which specific area. Are you looking at economic empowerment and then seeing how women entrepreneurship can contribute to that? Or are you looking at gender equality and then you're looking at how by empowering women through women entrepreneurship, we can enhance gender equality in that particular area? So it is not very, very clear. The other thing that I also struggled a little bit to understand is, where is the problem? Where is the research problem? Because this is an academic work, you must be able to bring out the research problem. What is the problem? And why is it a problem? How is the society going to benefit from this by you carrying out this study? What problem are you solving that is then going to contribute to providing a solution to the society, and in this case, most probably then to the community in that area where you're targeting your study? So one thing that can help you is if you can also provide a background of that particular area, why you specifically chose Kajiado, because there are many other areas in Kenya that are facing challenges, so that then you can be able to bring out your problem clearly. Now, the other thing that I think you need to improve, maybe it is in another document that I wasn't able to see, you need to enhance your literature review. Because again, this is an academic piece of writing. I don't see much of empirical literature that you have cited, or possibly studies that have been done in the past in this area. I also don't see you referring to any theoretical framework that could be very helpful given the level of the study you're doing. And if you then bring out the issues around literature, what has been done and what has not been done, besides responding to a problem, then you would also be filling a gap. So is there a research gap? Is there something that you're going to contribute with this knowledge? Or as everything has been done, so you're just doing because there are main grids in that area, and you need to see the connection. So you need to, if you enhance your literature review, then it will be able to bring out the gap. Now, the other thing that I think also you need to include, when I was reading the paper, I was asking myself, what kind of mini grids are in that area? Are they hydro mini grids or are they solar mini grids? Because then when I read the findings about it failing and not being useful at night, I was asking myself, but then it was not clear what kind of a mini grid that was. That is. So when you explain your context of the study, you should also bring out what kind of mini grids there are. And also when the women, it is okay, it's important that they have this access, but are they paying for this access? So it's also important to explain that, because then when the issue of financial limitation comes in and some are saying it's expensive to connect, then it would be easier to understand for someone who's reading your paper. Now, the methodology I've already mentioned, it's very, very good, very good that you're taking the qualitative approach, because then it will give you much more deep insights to be able to answer your research questions. Now, in the paper that I was reading, you had not mentioned focus group discussions, and actually put it here as one area that you need to consider. But in the PowerPoint, you have shown a photo of a focus group discussion. I don't see it in the paper you presented, but if you're already using focus group, it's a good way, because then you can be able to get a lot more insights from the opinions and the perceptions of these women, even in terms of how they think some of the problems can be solved. Like, for example, the issue around community awareness. It would be interesting to hear from them, what do they think can be the solution of that, or the financial limitation. Maybe them talking together, they can also come up with ways of supporting each other. They can discuss solutions to the problems they are facing. So maybe you can emphasize that. You can mention it in your paper, since it doesn't seem to be very. I mean, the paper that I have is that it doesn't mention the focus group discussions. It only mentions the semi-structured interview. So that is why I'm making that. But I can see you put it in the slides. Now, on the findings, very interesting findings, because they are not just around access to electricity and entrepreneurship, but they have brought out other aspects. For example, on business growth, they brought aspects around the challenges that they are facing. So very interesting. There are unintended impacts or positives arising from having that. Now, the only challenge I find with the findings presented and the part of what the respondents were saying is, in some cases, it really doesn't seem to be connected to access to electricity. For example, there is a point you present about business growth and diversification, while you as a researcher, you're saying this is because of access to electricity. The responses from the interviewees do not seem to indicate it is because of access to electricity. So you need to be able to tie what the responses are and what your research questions are. So we need to be able to see if, for example, respondent one is saying, I opened a salon business and now I'm able to do motorcycle. I'm not sure I'm able to see where the access to energy is coming in. And I must also say, I do not have the questions, the interview questions. So I'm making this comment from a point of not having the interview guide. So it's important. Now, the final comment that I may want to make is now, did the findings answer the research questions? And again, I must also say the research questions in the paper that I read are slightly different from, you had 3 research questions and you are presented 2 research questions, and they are a little bit more aligned in the presentation than what is in the paper. But the question I'm asking, and maybe you can respond if you wish, or you can think about it, did the findings answer to your research questions so far, based on what you have done, in terms of how they got into entrepreneurship, what entrepreneurship means, and the role of access to electricity? So maybe as you relook at your findings, it would be useful towards the end to have a conclusion where you show that you've been able to link to answer the research questions based on the findings you have so far. The other thing that is interesting, and probably now you need to look at it, is so And women entrepreneurship in this area is not only influenced by access to electricity, as the challenges that you have raised have shown, that it is okay, you can provide access to electricity through mini grids, but if they don't have the finances to start the business, then those businesses may not necessarily prosper. There's the issue of business skills, so that brings out an aspect of capacity building. So they may have access, they start the business, but if they're not able to keep records of their businesses, as one of the responses is saying, then it means that will also influence their business. And then, of course, the issue around community awareness. So these are new insights that I believe have come out of this initial work, that access to electricity is not enough. And not just access, it should also be reliable, because these main grids sometimes are failing. So when they fail, then what should happen? If, for example, you're running a business and you're using a fridge, and power goes off, and you have a very perishable food in the fridge, then it means it will get spoiled, and then that will create losses for the business. So it will have a negative implications. So I think those are my comments. But again, based on what I read, it's a very interesting area. I just think that you need to focus and really be sure, are you looking at just
Okay, I think we lost Esther, but luckily she was almost done with the comments. Maybe we can wait a few moments and see if she can connect back. And while we wait for her, maybe if anyone has other questions or comments for Sally, we can take them now and then see what happens with Esther.
Alessia?
Yeah, you're back.
Hello?
Hello.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can
Alessia?
hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Mm.
We can hear you. Maybe let me write in the chat that we can hear you. Okay. So yeah, maybe while Esther tries to fix the microphone, if anyone else has any comment.
Maybe a short one. So Sally, you know, I love your work. I think it's a really interesting topic.
My goodness.
Oh, is that?
Okay. Yeah, go on, Rosie.
Yeah, and but I also think like Esther made some really important points, but as I didn't read like the manuscript, I think I cannot like give you some tips or some ideas to that, but more maybe on the content-wise thing, because as you presented, I asked myself if you're also searching for some solutions or recommendations, maybe also for the other stakeholders, or like the government, or like the mini-grid developers, how they can enhance and enforce women empowerment also, like on the entrepreneurial side. Like, do they have some incentives, especially for the women, how they can improve the situation or support them? So that's maybe more a question, or if it's just like if your interviews also focused on that, or do you also talk to these people of the stakeholder environment, or you just talk to the beneficiaries?
Thank you, Rosalie. Maybe to answer you, we haven't yet spoken to the stakeholders of the mini grids. We were mostly looking at the beneficiary side. how maybe the women are benefiting from the mini grids, but we also raise an interesting point on how stakeholders can also play a key role in supporting women entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalie. And yeah, I think that's something that really important to consider. Maybe when we have some more structured findings, it's possible to go back to at least a few of them and at least share the findings with them and see what they think also practical solution around this problem could be, or what they are already doing, maybe that we didn't capture in our interviews. Esther, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I got disconnected. My mic was not working, and then I realized I was talking to myself.
Cyber attack.
So I'm not sure at what point I got lost, but I think I hope I had finished.
Yeah, I think you were finished because you were asking Sally to either if she wanted to reply or
Okay.
talk about it. So yeah, maybe Sally, if you want to have a short comment back to Esther's very, very good feedback. Thank you so much. That's extremely helpful. And then let's see if we can take other questions from the audience, or we just
Okay. Esther, I'd like to say thank you for your very key contribution. It's actually giving us more direction on what to focus on now. Maybe what I'd say is the expectation when we went to the field the first time was we're expecting, because now there's access to electricity, it now brings about entrepreneurship. But we found that these women were actually proactive. They had businesses before, so now they're just using electricity to maybe have better business opportunities, better make more money. So I guess what we can do is, like you've said, look more into literature and try to, because at this point it's quite a lot. The themes are quite big and quite large. So we look into more into literature and try to see how we can focus, like you've said, we either look at economic empowerment or also gender bias, because also this we found during the data collection, they also play quite a part in this. But at the end of the day, it all has to tie down to how electricity access plays a role in all of this. So I think I'd like to say thank you so much. You really gave really good points. So thank you.
yeah,
Welcome and welcome, and feel free to. We don't need to wait for this seminar. We are here. You can give me a call if you need any further support or suggestions.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Esther.
This is what I was going to tell you. Are you open if we send you the next version of the paper in maybe some weeks or from now? Okay, great. I think we can catch another question or comment if Fernanda or Harold have any.
Yeah, thank you, Alessia. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, so I think thank you, Sally, for the presentation. I think for me it's two kind of just comments. One is probably because I've not read the paper, I've not been able to see the progression in the data analysis and itself. So probably in the presentation, maybe that would have kind of been kind of presented. That would help to know how the analysis is progressing and what is coming out of it. The second is on the topic. I don't know whether I know the topic can always change as we move depending, but I kind of found the topic a bit repetitive in terms of the word empowerment and empowering. And I was thinking probably just the wording really, just to think about whether you can play a bit with the wording. Yeah, so I think those were my two comments, Alicia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harold.
Yeah, that's true. I think Sally has been doing a very good job in analyzing the data, and this didn't come out from the presentation, but we have, she has been doing very detailed table of every woman with the information about them. And I think the next step is to move a little bit more systematically to code the interviews, because now I think most of the insights are based on like a overall coding, let's say, but I think in the next few weeks we should start to do some more systematic coding, maybe using some software. I don't know if you have started doing that with MaxQDA, but we should start doing that as soon as we now understand better where we want to focus more narrowly. And also the title and the topic, I agree, the wording are a bit, you know, in a loop. Yeah. Okay. Fernanda, do you have anything to add?
No, I just I mean, I think I'm really new with the topic, but I found it like really interesting. I come from Mexico, for example. I think it's a topic that also that you can also find in some parts of Mexico, that it's also the part of empowering women that might not have like another chance, and they start doing, or they see themselves as entrepreneurs, for example. And it really resonated a lot, the part of women seeing other women doing it, what also motivates them. So I really like the topic, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much for joining once again.
Thank you.
And so just to maybe sum up a little bit Esther comments, so that also it's helpful for Sally and I while we continue progressing on this project. So in the next step, we should have a better description of the overall background where these mini grids are installed, and describe better the situation on the ground for each of the 4 mini grids where we have been collecting data. We need more in-depth literature review, and this would hopefully help us to also narrow down the research question and the research topic, because at the moment is very broad. And and definitely I think it was really important what you mentioned, Esther, that we cannot look at the context or the topic of gender empowerment, gender equality, or women empowerment only in connection with access to energy, or at least we should acknowledge that female entrepreneurship is influenced by so many other elements of the context, like the business skills, the financial access, the cultural, the technology aspects. And when we want to study female entrepreneurship and access to electricity, we really need to understand how these two are connected. And and then of course we need to improve our analysis, as Harold also suggested, and and the methodology. Maybe we should give more detail about what we did, so be more specific about, for example, what we did during focus groups, and so on and so forth. I think that was really productive, and I'm really happy to first of all that this connection between Sally and Esther was created. I think it's going to be very fruitful, and also very happy for the feedback that she has received, and will definitely help us to move forward. So thank you once again for joining, and also for Rosalie, Fernanda, Harold joining us. We are going to publish this on our YouTube channel, so it's going to keep available.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And see you.
Thank you.
See you serious, hopefully.
Bye. Bye. All the best, Sally.
Thank you so much.